Glad you could join us. So Jennifer and Victoria, thank you again for joining me today. I'm going to get started. Today's workshop is Cash for the Holidays, a peaceful plan for gifting, celebrating, and staying on budget. And if you did not notice as you joined the call today, I am recording. This is mostly for marketing purposes. I do like to grab a couple snippets of how the conversation goes, just for my social media and promotional items as well. It's just a kind of way. Sometimes I'll go back and take a look at it just from a lessons learned perspective as well. The information that I am providing in this workshop is for informational purposes only. I use it as a way to kind of share my messaging from my coaching experience, and I just use it as a way to expand financial literacy out there. I am not a licensed financial advisor, accountant, or attorney. So going forward, again, feel free to take yourself off mute or camera if you want to chat. But again, I just hope that this workshop will be available for you to just kind of grow together and just kind of see as we move along. If you do want to have some dialogue, that would be wonderful. Get familiar with the chat. And if you have any technical issues, feel free to put that in the chat and I will try to be monitoring that. And thank you to my sister for joining and checking the technology, and we're all good, Cindy, if you need to get back to your other task. So thank you. Again, stick around so that when I share my workbook link with you, you'll be able to download it as well. I'll send it in an email if you do have to disconnect. So again, I am Kathy Lord. I am the owner of Lord Financial Coaching. I worked earlier in this year to get some training from the Ramsey Solutions team on financial coaching because I was at a crossroads. My company was offering buyouts early in the year, and I had been thinking about retiring early and looking to explore going into some form of coaching. A lot of people from a team that I was working with at my health insurance company, they were like, "Oh, Kathy, you're such a great mentor. You know, you've got a lot of experience. You should be a life coach, or maybe you should be a financial coach." And when the buyout opportunity came, you know, I checked my finances and I was like, you know what? I think now is the time for me to go off and try something different. And so I launched my business earlier in the year. And with that, I continue to work with my clients, just trying to help bring some clarity, some organization, and just hopefully just bring some messaging to other women that you're not alone. You know, we don't get a lot of teaching about financial experiences and, you know, how to set us up for success for financial prosperity. So I'm just hoping to share some knowledge, if you will, with the world and the community. I also have an identical twin who is my accountability partner as well. I love to travel and read. And so with that, if you guys want to share, when you think about the holiday, what's the first word that comes to mind? Either take yourself off mute or you can put it in the chat. When you think about the holiday, what is the first thing that comes to mind? I know for me, a few years ago, the holiday meant stress. It meant I'm going to be overwhelmed. We'll have too much on our plate, you know, raising two young children, being married, working full time. Year end was our busiest time of year. It was, for me, it was holiday meaning family, but it was very overwhelming. Jennifer, do you have anything to share about your holidays? Like,
my initial thought is, what the heck happened to the year?
Yeah, that too. It does seem to come rather quickly. Well, and you're like, it just like popped up there. Like we shouldn't have known it was coming. You know, so yeah. And I think too, like the holidays, as we have, you know, a variety of families, you know, sometimes we have blended families. It can be very demanding, not only on our financial perspective, but also from a physical perspective, you know, and certainly from a time perspective. And often, sometimes it feels like we might be spread very thin during the holidays. Would you agree?
Usually, yeah. There's always,
Yeah,
everybody's having parties. You're trying to fit
yeah,
everything in before the end of the year. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It is a lot. And so with that, I think a couple years ago, I was really kind of doing some time to reflect. And I got to thinking, and this is where kind of like the whole workshop came about, was I got to reflect a little bit for me that says, what is it I'm trying to get out of this holiday? And I would think about, and feel free to put anything in the chat or raise your voice. But I think for me, it was, is the holidays meant to be this chaos? Or is there something different that the holidays should be about? And I got to thinking about some of the traditions. Unfortunately, both of my parents are gone now. And I got to think, like, what are the things that I hope to embrace with I have two boys, as they're going into adulthood. What are those experiences or traditions that I'm hoping to continue on with them, but also not have it be such an overwhelming time? And so I don't know if either one of you wanted to share, but I think for me, one of my favorite traditions was, I was like, if I could just get my picture in front of the Christmas tree with my two boys, then that's success for me. And it wasn't about like the big gifts. It's not about, there's a variety of things, and the time spent with family is important. But I really tried to focus on, well, what are those couple of items, those traditions or moments that I want to cherish? And how do I make sure that I'm prioritizing those ahead of everything else and not get distracted by the whirlwind during the holidays, but instead make sure I keep those moments that are most important that I want to cherish and implement part of that holiday, so that I guarantee that I would experience those. But also, I used to get sick all the time. Again, work year end was the busiest time. There's so many things, especially when the kids are younger, the school activities, the variety, go to your parents, go to his parents, so much going on. I would get sick usually between Christmas and New Year's every year. And I just was like, I don't want to exhaust myself anymore during the holidays. So I kind of, took a step back and really tried to build a stronger plan for myself around the holidays. So I'm bringing those thoughts and those ideas to this workshop. And so with that, we have 4 goals today. One is to bring awareness. Overall, you're not alone. I think it's so important. Victoria, you mentioned you and Jessica have a lot of dialogue and a conversation between the two of you. I just think it's so important, ladies, that we remember we're not alone, and that it does not make you weak to ask for help. It actually, I think, makes you brave and strong, that you realize sometimes you just need a little boost, whether that's going to be from a trainer, a coach, a family member, it could be a coworker. It's just so important for us to know that oftentimes we think, I don't want to ask for help because I'll be seen as weak, when really, when you voice that you're in overwhelm or that you need help, others will say, yeah, I've been struggling too. I'm so glad you reached out. Can we work together? And so my hope with today is to, again, this is a no shame conversation. We're not here to judge one another, but what we're really here to do is to set up and focus on, in my opinion, what really matters, which are connections, memories, and staying calm around the holidays. Welcome back, Victoria.
Yeah, I'm at home or in my office.
Oh, good, good. And so again, there's 4 goals today. We're going to reset our mindset. We're going to map our spending, build a strategy, and set some boundaries for the upcoming holiday season. So again, let's get started. And so when you think about the holidays, ladies, do either one of you want to share a story about what a chaotic holiday has looked like for you in the past? Do you have any experiences that you would want to share?
Can you hear me, you guys?
I can, Victoria, yes.
Okay. Well, for me, holidays have not been that great. I think that, so financially, there were never any boundaries, and I I feel like that's been my life, and that's why I'm going to be working with you or want to.
Mhm.
But holidays always felt kind of like, oh, it's the same thing again. And it had mostly to do with the familial stuff. It doesn't not financially. I grew up in a family that was very financially stable. My dad was a military guy and a surgeon, and he had his own private practice as an OBGYN. So, during the 70s and 80s, during that time anyway, so he did extremely well. But so the holidays for me, there's never been order. It's actually been kind of a time that's been very anxious for me because I never knew, I never really knew. I knew it was going to be the same thing, but it was, my dad was just, he kind of ruined stuff. So anyway, so for me, I don't have like really great memories. Never really stuck to a budget because I guess the thing is that my father's no longer here, and so it's just basically my niece and my nephew and my one sister and my mom, and we're all, my sister and I are both 60, and my mom is 85, and so we just kind of say, what do you want? It's like we've never really been. It's never been like tons of gifts. It's been like, so it's just looked different because I get things during the year. And so for me, Kathy, or is it Catherine? Do you go by Catherine or Kathy?
I go by Kathy. Kathy.
Okay.
Thank you.
So for me, Kathy, it's going to be what I do through the year that's going to determine how, this is where I need the help. But holidays are just kind of, like, I don't know. I mean, like, I'm not looking forward to this Christmas because I don't know. It just feels like the same old thing again. And I guess in some ways, maybe that's good because there's not drama. There's not surprises. It's just kind of, it just kind of is the way it is. It doesn't mean that's going to be like that forever. So I guess I can probably just maybe enjoy it a bit more. There's no stress and no pressure, basically is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Jennifer, did you have anything to add? Oh, you're on mute, Jennifer.
There we go. Not really. I mean, my situation's a little different. It's just myself, and my immediate family is just me and my sister. And we just, we get to this point where it's just, we buy what we want during the year. So we just try to spend time together during the holidays. And the year-end holidays for me are, it's all about Jesus. And so that's my priority and my focus. So if there's any chaos, it's me trying to have some self-control and saying no to some invitations, and keeping those priorities. But that's really my priority is church and my Savior.
You know what, Jennifer, I'm glad you said that because I'm a really strong Christian too. And I've been one of the senior lead ushers in my church, of Jensen Franklin's church out here in California. And so, so that for me is really, it is like, the Christmas Eve service that we have. And then, every Sunday I'm at church at 8 and I don't leave till 11 because I handle it. So anyway, that is kind of where, thank you for bringing that up, Jennifer. I didn't even think about that because I'm thinking about money only, but yeah. So that for me too, I resonate. I mean, Jennifer and I are kind of in the same boat.
Well, and I think too, hopefully, like when you reflect back on the time and, the fellowship that you do in your churches, do you feel like, and I think that's where, again, is that reflection that says, do we have the meaningful holiday that we want? And in some ways that goes to this next slide is I was reflecting that it's almost like when you get married, like the day goes so quick and you're like, okay, it's done, but do I remember the party? Do I remember the day? Well, that too, but I was having the same concerns around the holiday that said, it's not just about the gifts, but is it meaningful? And are we spending the time, not just in the same room, but is there, and value is not the right word, but are we finding, like I like what you said about, the purpose of the season, the purpose of the, the day, what have you, whatever your tradition is, was it meaningful? And I started to get to the point where it was like, no, it was just too busy. I never even had 5 minutes to appreciate it. And go ahead, Victoria.
Oh, so what's becoming more important to me, and I thank you for saying that, because is experiences. Like
Yes.
like spending time with family. Like it was always kind of like holidays were always kind of yucky because we had people, I don't know. Anyway, they just were not, it was always like, oh God, this again, we got so my dad's going to have a drink too much, and it's going to be like we're going to have to deal with the conversation. It's going to turn ugly, so we don't have that anymore. And my dad is home with the Lord. So thank God. He did come back to his, he did come back to the Lord 6 months before he passed. He had Alzheimer's.
Awesome.
So now it's about experiences and being with family, being with friends. So thank you for bringing that up, because the gifts have kind of gone aside. It's like, hey, what do you want? $500 gift card for the kids for clothing at Old Navy for the year? Because they get like the $2 things, $3 things. They go to the sale rack. Okay, that's fine. And it's about being together and the food and just enjoying. So thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's where, for me, it was that reflection of like, what is most important? And again, there's a variety of things. We'll all have something different. But I think for me, it was just having that time again to reflect that said, what do I want out of the holiday? And how do I make sure that I plus, my family, we make it meaningful? And I think to your point, Victoria, is I think too, it's like, as we mature, we realize because again, both of my parents have also passed. And it was like you said, like, we spent the holiday together, but I don't know, outside of like opening gifts, we didn't really do like things together. And I think that's where I want to try to see if I can do better with my boys, that says, make sure it's meaningful. And, it's not just about the stuff, it's also about the experiences. So with that, the first thing, whether you mentioned, Victoria, for you're blessed, the holidays are not a financial constraint, which is a good thing. But I also think, it's as we look towards the future to try to grow and learn from these experiences that we had in the past, I think, again, it's just resetting our mindset that whatever happened in the past, we have to let that go. We have to move forward with an open mind of different, this is a different opportunity, giving ourselves forgiveness if we did overspend, or if we did pay on a credit card, or if we did just regret, some of the purchases we made. For me, I was having regret on, it's like, again, with children, you're like, did they like what I found for them? And especially as my boys have gotten older, it was like, all they want is cash. And you're like, I can't keep buying, you a gift card, because that just doesn't, I know you like it, but there's no meaning for me,
Right.
And I think that's where what really drove, some of that perspective around the experiences compared to the stuff. So again, our first thing we have to do is give ourselves grace, be mindful that we're going to grow and begin again with a new mindset going forward. And then with that, I think it's really important, even if we have funding, it's also being mindful to have a holiday spending goal, to really be realistic to our spending and try to keep with that goal in mind. And again, it doesn't have to be a specific budget. I think for me, a lot of it was just trying to have a range that I would go into it, but also be meaningful and being mindful that it's not just about gifts. It's also about, do I set aside money for experiences, decorations? Do you have to travel to go for somewhere? What are all the, when you have kids and they're in school, there's a variety of school events. There might be meals or perhaps donations of food you might want to make along with the gifts. And so for me, it was really getting mindful to these different categories of where the money needs to spread around, and really think about all the things that go into your holiday spending, and being mindful before you start shopping, so that you would know the holistic budget, not just what I want to spend on the gifts wrapped to go into the Christmas tree, or gifts that I was going to give to others. And so the number one thing for me was setting a goal with an understanding of why do I have the goal financially, but then thinking about the variety of categories that go into it. And then with that, it was who, or in some cases, what am I buying for and why? And with any goal, if you do not really understand that why around the category, then in my opinion, you're more likely to splurge and are really not really focused to what those dollars are going to go for. And so for me, I really try to focus on the spending categories as well as the who or the what and the why. And I got more mindful every year after year to reflect on what was it around the holidays and the meaning for those categories. And so you'll notice I haven't allocated any dollars yet. Again, it was what's my categories? And then I thought about what's a priority to those categories. Because again, if you have to travel or if you wanted to create a great experience, I'm a big cruiser. And so at some point, like if you want to make the experience the number one priority, well, then that might be where you're going to put all your money. And so I really think it's important that we prioritize our spending categories and then we think about the dollars to allocate. I don't think we should be allocating our budget dollars or our holiday spending dollars until we understand the prioritization. And then the other thing I would just remind everyone was it's quality over quantity. And one of my colleagues at work brought up a couple years ago, I don't know if you've heard of this Christmas gift challenge, but I introduced it to my two sons when they were early teenagers, where you get something they want, something they need, something to wear, and something to read. And so even though as teenagers will, all I want is a gift card, Mom, or now it's cash, they're going to get 4 gifts. And my goal again is I'm a big reader, so I want to bring some literacy to their world. Some years they read the book and some years they don't, but they're always going to get a book. And again, nowadays they get like a little graphic t-shirt to wear. Another year it was like slippers, but something that I know that they want from or they need from like a physical something to wear. But then again, I still give them something they want that's been on their Amazon list, and then maybe something they need, like sometimes it's a car part or something they want for like a computer thing. But again, for me, it's really helped me to kind of be more thoughtful around the gift giving process. And again, be thoughtful to that why, like what is it that I want them to walk away with, but also giving me a little bit more. So I feel there's some investment and so there's some research around it. So this is just an idea to kind of keep in mind. I know other people have the Secret Santa, but this was just something that has worked well for me. Do you guys have anything specifically of how you decide how to give gifts to your families?
Well, I was just thinking as I was looking at your Christmas gift challenge that my sister Tracy goes to every year with her high school girlfriends that they've been traipsing around. They're all 60. For like 40 years, they do a white elephant. They get together, they karaoke, they dress up. So I was thinking as I was looking at your Christmas gift challenge, like what could I do that would be fun, like a game where you ask, what is one thing that you'd really like to have, or, I don't know, you set a budget and just make it more about the experience, or I don't know, just something, because we've always done the tree and that's great. Or you sit around the table, or, sit in the living room and do that. But I was thinking, what could I do that would be something unique? Because laughter and joy and, getting somebody what they want, but the joy and the laughter that comes from just being together is what I was thinking about. And then I also thought to myself, I think I've done this a couple times, is maybe going and serving at church, like giving away free food or doing something like that. Like that's even great to do with children. So they get in the spirit of giving, and it's not always just about what they get. I think the holidays can become, I do totally think that the budgeting is like the critical piece, but like incorporating all these other things that, what I'm saying? Like even just going into do you have a couple pieces of clothing that you want to give to maybe a child? So I'm looking at this little picture and I'm thinking, wow, that's kind of interesting. Like, what could we, and I love that too. Something they want, something they need, something to wear, something to read. So yeah, I'm just thinking about different things to make it experiential and memories.
Well, and hopefully my workbook's going to give you some other great ideas because I scoured the internet. I'll show you a little bit later. Jennifer,
Okay.
did you have anything else to add?
I do like the service opportunity concept. I, again, don't have kids, single, but I would grab some friends sometimes and like the Salvation Army or other places that will do like meals for the less fortunate. And I think that's a great opportunity for kids as well. I mean, we're all beyond that age, but because it allows them to interact with people that have less. I think hopefully the idea that it gives them an appreciation of like how much they have. And also I think there's a lot of intimidation and I say this with the most loving intent, like a lot of ignorance around if we don't have a lot of experience around homeless or the low income and stuff like that. And it gives us an opportunity to not just serve them and give them something that they wouldn't normally have, but it opens our eyes up a lot to, hey, these are just people down on their luck or, in a bad situation or something like that. So I always like that idea, particularly for families, to have that
That's
experience
wonderful.
we've been talking about that will last through the years.
Yeah, no, that's very meaningful. And then, like you mentioned, Victoria, like it's okay. Now you've set your spending goal, and then how do we, is it realistic that we can get all that money together? So hopefully we're not going to make a decision that says I'm just going to go on the credit card and I'll figure it out in January. We don't want any regrets. Instead, we want to make sure it's realistic, and especially with the government shutdown still right now, just want to remind everyone, like if we have to repurpose the holidays, let's talk about it because, I think it's important that the holiday should not have regrets. I gave everyone what they wanted, but, I'm going to have sleepless nights in the new year as I try to figure out how to pay for it. So again, Google, I went out and Googled, they recommended 1 to 1.5% of your annual income as a potential for a holiday spending goal. But some people might say, I can't do that. That's too high. Or, I've only got, a couple people and we like to live lavishly or we got nothing, and so I think that's where for us, like we all have to realize our spending goal is based on what we can do and recognize not everyone has the means or the opportunities that I might have. Or maybe, it's me that might be struggling this summer and I need to talk with my family about bringing the budget down, depending on what you're doing. And so I think, again, it's building a strategy that's realistic for you and then finding ways to find cash so that you can then, pay the holiday now and not pay for the holiday later. One of the things I just freed up recently, and it was $20. I turned off my ChatGPT subscription. First I was like, I loved the subscription. It was very helpful, but then I'm like, I'm not using it as much. And so, wherever you can find ways to maybe squeeze a few dollars out of our budget, I think that's important so that we're using cash, or maybe even some people need to find a side gig. I was talking to one of my colleagues. He heard an Uber driver can earn $250 working like 8 hours driving for Uber. And so just trying to encourage everyone to think about using cash. If they could try to squeeze out some dollars from your budget or maybe your monthly spending for the next couple months. But do you guys have any suggestions on how we could find some dollars to free up for the holidays?
Sell something.
I
got
have
so much
I mean,
stuff.
you could sell things. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Yeah, that was the big thing. As far as just, like Kathy was saying, like a side gig, even if it's just temporary or, there's so many things you could do that don't really that don't have to really put you out, like, pet sitting or something like that you can make a lot of good money with nowadays.
Yeah.
there are like things like I mean, I've done in the past a lot of selling on eBay of like clothes that I didn't wear anymore.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so you can really get the most bang for your buck on eBay. By the way, just a hot tip, do not sell on the real because you end up giving away 70% and you only get 30.
What
I
did you
learned
say?
that. I
The
think
real? What's that
I don't
called?
even
the
know what that
real,
is.
like if you have designer clothing, if you have designer
Oh,
clothing, yeah, but even it could be any, I mean, you have to look to see what vendors they take, but it's horrible.
uh,
Okay. It's great on the buying end. It's horrible on the selling end because you end up losing 70%.
wow.
It's really horrible. So anyway, don't do it. But if you want to buy something nice, I mean, you can get something great for a great price there. But like eBay is a great thing to do. I even think that if you do, like, you can Google like side gigs, there's all kinds of, like, you can do something with the web. You
Mhm.
can do like
Yes, much.
I don't know, there's kinds of things you can do by the web, or on the internet, do internet jobs, or maybe even a part-time job where I did Uber Eats one time, like when I was in a
Mm,
really like in between place. And that's hard. I will tell you that's very
Yeah.
hard, and the money's not lucrative. I would be an Uber driver, except I feel it's dangerous.
mhm,
I just at
Agree.
61,
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, you know what? I have a lot to lose. I have a lot to lose, and I don't want to lose my health or my life.
mhm,
I just don't want to. I'm not a high risk person anymore, and I never really was.
mhm.
So, but like just things like that, I'm thinking, I don't know if I have any other ideas, maybe I'll put them in maybe I'll email you if I have
Yeah,
other ideas. But
yeah,
there are ways to make cash for the
yeah.
holidays.
Yeah. And I think it's important that, again, but it's that recognition, like if we can't pull it together, well, then this is what we got. And I think that's where it's so hard for us as a society to say, I can't meet to the level that the rest of I'm dating myself by saying, meeting with the Joneses, doing what the Joneses are doing. But it's a reality that says so many people feel like I have to splurge because everyone's expecting that, compared to being honest and saying, you know what, this is not my time right now. Like you said, I'm in between something, or maybe, you have a friend that is going through the shutdown right now and they don't have their paycheck coming in, or they got unemployed. I know there's a lot of people that transitioned and got laid off this year. And so it's just having that dialogue, that says it's okay if we need to make adjustments. And part of the next one is setting those boundaries and being aware that, having some conversations with our families that say, you know what, one, I think it's important that we set limits on our budget from a reality check perspective based on our spending goal and where our priorities are. But also, if you do have limitations, it's having that dialogue with your family now, and not just, a couple days before Christmas that says, oh, by the way, we didn't buy anything, or, we can't afford anything. And so I think it's just really important. One of the boundaries is having clear communications and expectations. And I think that's really important. But it's also having, I think, a dialogue with yourself, which I call the clarity commitment, that says, I need to make sure that I am very clear and I'm committed to make the holiday what I think is important for me and my family. And so in the workbook, you'll see there's a little area where you can kind of make your own clarity commitment specific to your world that just says, I want to make sure that what's happening with the holiday, like you both talked about, giving back to your community or your church, spent making the meaningful experiences with your family and your friends, and making that commitment to yourself that you're going to make that the important part of the holiday season. And then with that, I don't know if you're a reader, Victoria, but I just finished this book recently, Set Boundaries, Find Peace. Jennifer, I'm not sure if you're a book reader, but this book was so helpful for me. It was done by Nadra Glover Tawwab, and she gave, I think it's a she. I'm reading two other books right now. I think it's a she. And she gave these examples throughout the entire book that really resonated with me, because it really helped to remind me part of boundaries isn't just physical boundaries, emotional boundaries, but also health boundaries, time boundaries, and just different commitments. And it really helped reinforce before the holidays for me of how I have to make sure that for me to keep the holidays, less stressful, I have to be very mindful of where I'm going to invest my time, where I'm going to invest my effort, where I'm going to invest my money. And that should help me to prevent my overwhelm and really protect my emotional and mental health. And a lot of, many, many years ago, I realized as I reflect back, I just got stretched too thin, which is why I kept getting sick all the time. And I think for me, I go into the holidays now with a plan. And with that, this book was, if you're a reader, she is on Kindle. You had to buy it, but it wasn't a freebie. But it was a very good, I consider a very wise investment because she really dived into the whole topic of boundaries, work, family, spouses, friends, just whole gamut. And it was a very, very good read.
Nice.
And then with any goal, you guys might have seen this in my other workshop. Any goal, I really want us to think about what's going to stop me from achieving that goal. Like what could be a roadblock that I might have come up during the holiday season that would stop me from, keeping to my holiday spending goal. And so for me, I try to be proactive, think about some of those roadblocks, and then think of an action item or two that says, okay, if I get in the mindset of wanting to overspend, okay, what can I do to kind of retrain myself? And for me, one of the things that's helped me is I actually pre-plan and do a lot of my research before I ever go out to the mall. And that's been one of the things for me that, and I list out, you'll see in the workbook, I list out who I'm going to buy for. I think about what I'm going to buy for. I educate myself to the price point to kind of see if it's going to be within that target. I had set for my people that I buy gifts for. But I think it's you got to be mindful about those roadblocks. Jennifer, Victoria, do you guys have any recommendations that you think about or any roadblocks you might have as you go into the holidays that you want to think about writing an action plan to overcome?
I think for me, one of them is just to not be gifting myself, because I do, like Jennifer, I purchase throughout the year what I need.
Mm-hmm.
We're just of that mindset. If you need it, get it. And me, I tend to, during the holidays, I love winter clothing. Even though I'm in Southern California, I lived back east for a number of years. So I bought myself last year 2 coats. I've worn them a handful of times last year, but I don't need to buy any more this year. One of the things that's really that I've done is I unsubscribed to all the retail, anything that could be text or
their
email.
Oh yeah, that's
I've unsubscribed to a lot of like Saks or whatever, just stuff that, because I know the power of thoughts that go into my brain, like literally thought injection, like because the enemy does want to steal, kill, and destroy, and he wants to rob me of my money. And so I'm very susceptible, and I need to be doing some more prayer about that. Like, just God help me with that. That's why I'm gonna, that's one of the things I want to work on with you is my values. When Jessica shared that, I was like, whoa, of course it has to be value based. It has to be what's important to you. What do you want your life to look like in the future? So there has to be a rudder, right? There has to be a steering. So so I've turned off all the unsubscribed to most everything. Once in a while, so, and that will keep me on track. I think I want to do this year very different from this, according to some of the things you've just put thoughts in my mind. I don't think it's anything specific, but it's like, I'm going to do some thinking about how I can, because I have a niece and a nephew that are 7.5 and 4.5. And I a couple of years ago, I went a little bit too crazy. And, but you know what? They forget about it. I mean, in 3 days, they forget about it. And so I'm like, okay, this is the way they are. This is the way children are. So, anyway, that's that. That's me.
Yeah, that's good. I do think unsubscribing is the huge, and not following them like on the social media side. That I think is a big help for me, is I don't see a lot of the Target things as much anymore.
Instagram learns you.
And removing the temptation.
Yeah, Instagram learns you and your scrolling habits and what you land on, and they will then make suggestions accordingly.
Right,
That would
right.
be the AI.
Yeah, for sure, Jennifer. Did you have anything else to add?
I just know that actually I had a question for Victoria, just as an aside. Victoria, how much time have you spent in the scripture around money and possessions?
Well, I've done Dave Ramsey's work, Financial Peace, twice, so
Right.
I'm very familiar. I just don't spend a lot of time in it every day, like looking at the money stuff, because I'm focused on, I have a certain track that I'm following.
Right. Yeah, there's over 3,000 scriptures about money and possessions, so it's really important to Jesus. So that's why I just curious to ask.
And I know he talked mostly about that stewardship and money. I mean, money more than he talked about it, because I think money is a symbol, right? He used it symbolically, right? Like, like what you worship. Anyway,
it's an idol for a lot of people. So
it's an idol.
Yeah. But I just, you had on an earlier slide, Kathy, about like the sinking fund. And I think from the first time I took Financial Peace University, I set up 2 envelopes, one for gifts and one for clothing. And that was probably 2 decades ago, and I still have them.
Awesome. That's great.
That's been really great because there's been so much freedom to that, right? So if I need a gift, I just pull it out of that. But you also, what I would do when I was actually buying gifts is, if I know who I'm buying for, whether it's birthday, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever it is, in advance, then as the year goes on and things come on sale, I will purchase as I go.
That's great.
And store it up, right? And so then you're saving money in that regard. My challenge was usually, because particularly now, I don't really have a gift shopping list recipient. But at the very last minute, I'll go, ooh, I want to buy this for that person. I want to buy this for that person.
Yeah.
And I'll make a list at the last minute. But
Yeah. Well, and I think that's where you brought it up, Jennifer, like the envelope, it's tried and true for a reason. And I think that's where, for me, my envelope is like, I have a spreadsheet where I'm tracking.
Right.
But I think that's where, again, it's finding what works well for you and then just embracing it, but also have a plan. And for me, it's like, okay, Kathy, you set aside the number for the boys, and like my indulgence is the stocking gifts. And I don't know why I just go gangbusters over there, but I can be really tight and true to their gifts that go under the tree. But I think that's where I'm going to try to embrace using cash when I go shop for the stocking gifts, because I realize like that's a weakness for me. I don't know why, but that's a really good point, because the envelopes are successful. I need to get back to that.
The stockings are like, it's just a little something here. It's just a little something here. Just
for $200, I walked out of Target.
I think the other thing
fun. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Victoria.
Oh, so something fun that I did like 2 or 3 years ago for the kids is Nordstrom had these like knapsack, like their potato bags, like the rough. And they put their names on them, so it ended up being like $15 each, and they were pretty big. Then I got a bunch of the shredded paper that we shred with here, and I got a ton of that. And then went to the Dollar Tree, and I just got Dollar Tree, recorder, crowns, stuff. This, I mean, literally the Christmas wasn't expensive, but it was thoughtful. And I put everything, I shoved it all in the middle so that they couldn't feel. And I shoved it full of shredded, documents.
That's
everything
great.
was, and so they were like feeling it. And I said, no, you can't feel it because it's all in the middle. So, but it had their name in silver, and it was big.
Nice.
So just like little things. I tend to be really creative like that. And that was a really fun thing. And then we had to take it outside because the stuff blew everywhere. But like things like that are fun. But even like for an adult, you could think of something, creative. I think the creativity is what lends to like also the experience of like, oh man, somebody really put thought into this for me. Like,
if you make
Yeah.
something, right, there's more heart to it. But
Mhm.
also, are you guys familiar with the love languages concept?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Are you familiar with that, Kathy?
Mm-mm.
So
Mm-mm.
it's Gary
Gary
Chapman is one of
Chapman.
the authors, and it talks about how different people really receive and feel love, whether it's, Victoria, help me out here, by gifts, by time, by touch, by
Oh,
words
okay.
of affirmation,
Yep.
and there's
Yeah.
something else,
Physical touch, quality time, words of
quality time,
encouragement, acts of service, and what's the other one?
gifts.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
lovely. I'll
gifts.
have to look into it.
So
Yeah.
we think of at the holidays or birthdays, like people want gifts and you're spending all
Mm-hmm.
this money on gifts, but
Mm-hmm.
maybe they experience love more through
A
quality time. So
massage.
that goes back to the experiences that we were
Mm-hmm.
talking about, or,
Yes. Oh, I love that. I'll
really
have to do
knowing
some
your,
research. I know
yeah.
I've heard that phrase, but I didn't know the meaning behind it. So thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
You know,
good.
Kathy, one of the
Yeah.
things that I love, you guys, is Audible. Do you ever do Audible books?
I do the podcast, and then I do the Apple phone has the books, Audible books,
Yep.
and then Kindle Audibles, audiobooks. Yeah, I'll have to look for it.
Hey, I've been shopping at thrift shops for gifts before.
That's awesome. Why not?
You guys, you know what else is really fun? And I just want to share this because I haven't done this in decades, but I learned it from a girlfriend in high school. And I have my kids still. If you take, it's 2 parts flour to 1 part table salt, like Morton's table salt, and you put it in a big bowl and you mix it all up and you add water and you make it so that it's dough, right?
Uh-huh.
And so that it's not sticky, but so that you can, and you make, and then you get like hairpins that are like that, the hairpins that are like that.
Bobby
And then
pins.
you get all your tools, your sculpting tools and little beads for eyes, and you can make ornaments. You
Mhm.
can make ornaments and you just put the oven at like 350 and you
Oh,
put it on
really?
yeah, and then you have paint after. I should maybe take a couple pictures. I made dozens and dozens, and what I did is I just looked at, I had a friend who actually turned me on to that, and then I was like, oh my God, this is so much fun. So it's even things like that. If you want to gather your girlfriends for like hot spiced apple cider, and we're gonna make Christmas ornaments, and maybe put it on a tree and take it to a, I don't know, or just we can do an exchange. Like, see, those are things that are fun, and I
Yes.
miss
I love
stuff
that
like that.
idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Then you get the
So,
experience and the gift.
yes.
exactly,
It's really
Well,
exactly.
inexpensive.
right. Well, you've inspired me, Victoria, because I think I had put this slide out here to think about, one thing I want to do differently. I think I'm going to have to get my kids to do a craft with me.
Now, what
Because
ages are your children, Kathy?
I have 2 boys, they're 22 and 19.
Oh, okay.
And so I'll have to think about something, again, we travel a lot. So I was thinking about like maybe some type of like photo ornament or something from like our travels, but I think that's going to inspire me. I don't know what we'll do, but
Google Photos. Do you have
yeah,
Google Photos? If you have so
mm-hmm.
Google Photos, you can make photo albums. Let me show you.
Oh
I've made
yeah, I've done Shutterfly albums. Yes.
I've made dozens, and this is how I do albums now. We went to Disneyland. Shucks, where's my Disneyland one with the kids? Oh, here we go. And then I downloaded a bunch of the
Oh
general
yeah.
pictures. And then what I
Uh-huh.
did is I also put in there like little stickers.
Oh, how cute.
Oh,
I made
nice.
one for myself and one for my sister with her kids, and they were like, "Oh my God!" And I'm like, "Yeah." See, it's throughout the year. It's these little things that
Mm-hmm.
so that's why when Christmas comes, it's like, okay. I mean, I've been like kind of a hip aunt throughout the
You
year. I
are.
like,
You are.
I mean, I'm known for being fun.
Uh-huh.
I am known for being, kind of fun. But anyway, this is just another idea. Google
Yeah.
Photos.
I'll have to think about that.
You could think about maybe gathering up a bunch of pictures from each of your boys when they were babies to like to little boys.
Oh, that would be fun.
Like you could make one. You could make
Mhm.
something that would be, just something that, because that's not something that they're going to do. That's
Uh-huh.
something that they'll have, and they'll have it for their children. Hey,
Yeah.
look at me. Look at me when I was a little boy. I don't know.
Yeah.
Those are just things that I think of. Like,
Mhm.
I don't
love
know.
that.
Kind of
Well, I
corny, but
know when I practiced with Cindy, she saw the thing on here. She's like, "Oh, Kathy, we got to go for a holiday carriage ride." Like, we haven't done that in who knows how long. But
Yeah.
is there anything you would do differently this holiday season? From a, have you thought about like an experience?
For me,
Yeah.
uh, you mean like with my niece and my nephew?
Yeah, maybe.
Well, yeah, I'm always thinking of things. I mean, like, have you ever made homemade applesauce or
Through the
homemade
slow cooker.
Yeah, you just actually what you do is, yeah, I mean, here I am. I'm going to go on again about how to do it. I don't want to go on about, but I mean, it's just stuff like that. It's really easy. You get like
Good.
30 apples, core them out. You can wash them. You don't need to peel them. You don't even need to cut them. You just cut them in half. I do apple peach, apple pear, apple
Wow, yum.
blueberry. You can just, you steam them all,
Mm-hmm.
get them till they're like mush, stick them in a blender, just add a little touch of water. It's organic and it's sweet and it's awesome. I mean, and you can do jams. I don't know. I just like doing stuff like that.
That's
These
nice.
are all things you could do also. You could start in October, November, because if you jar and seal them, then they're already there and they have you basket up a couple of things, maybe little loaves of banana
give them
bread
as
or zucchini
gifts.
bread, and give them as gifts. But then it's, you're done by Thanksgiving. Well,
Yeah.
maybe not the zucchini breads and banana breads unless you have freezer space, but the jarred stuff, the jams that Victoria and stuff is talking about.
Yeah.
I
Do
love
that
that
in
idea.
advance, and then it's there.
Yeah. Well, you'll find, again, as we've been talking, I'll be sending, let me put the,
Do your boys like to cook, Kathy? I mean,
they more like to eat.
I get that.
But they do a little bit of cooking, and there's a favorite meal that we have during the holidays. But I think, like you said, I think I'm going to have to really think and have some dialogue with them up until the holidays. Like, where can we blend, them being very young adult and not as much activity with mom versus something fun, because they'll do like big vacations with me, but when I'm like, oh, let's go, watch the look at the Christmas lights. No, mom, I'm going back to my computer. So I actually was working on this memory making worksheet that I want to show them as part of the workbook, where there's these variety of ideas. Like one of them was record a holiday keepsake video interview. And so I was thinking both of them are very technical. That might be something that they could help me with. Or one of them, like you said, was the album. So that might be something, we could go through all the pictures and stuff like that. But so the link for the workbook is in the chat, but I'll also email it to you.
Okay.
Again, there's going to be some reflection space for you to think about, your holiday intentions, the categories that I mentioned about the spending categories, as well as prioritization, and then a gift planning guide if you need some help with that. And then again, this memory making worksheet where I actually gave you a column if you wanted to kind of list out the day you plan to go. My hope is, I'm going to show this to them, and maybe we can find something this year, and then maybe next year we'll do 2 or 3 things. So I'm looking forward to it. But again, just hopefully you can use this, or if you know of anyone who could benefit from it, feel free to share it. This is just an opportunity where I just want to spread some messaging to build a holiday spending goal before the holidays get here, so you can use cash, and then just being able to monitor and track your spending to that goal, and maybe just build some more connections compared to just focusing on the gifts.
You do such a great job with these workbooks, Kathy.
Oh, thank you.
Are either of you in Southern California?
Are there what?
Are either of you in Southern California? Are you guys located?
I'm in Michigan.
I'm in Arizona.
I was going to say you could also do something like for instance, the Reagan Library here in Simi Valley. I'm in or North Orange County, but they're open 365 days a year.
Oh,
are they? Wait a minute. Yeah, and then for they are. And so for the holidays, they do really everybody dresses up. I mean, they're dressed to the T anyway, all the time. All the docents have, red jackets on, and they're you could eat off the floor. And then but they have anyway, those are fun things to do because They're historical. They're learning. You're together. They have a great two or three great restaurants there. And then they have these little forums where you gather in a room and everybody's dressed up like Abe Lincoln and they have dialogue and they talk about.
Oh, nice.
So like those are things too that are not necessarily around money or gifts, but just like the experiences, and you come away going, oh, it was such a great day, you know, like
with a slide of education in there.
Yeah, exactly. But and it's so intriguing. So like, you know, if there's a museum or something,
I love that idea. Yeah, yeah.
You know, like,
I love that idea.
Like the tree lighting at Rockefeller Center. I mean, like if there's something like that, can always be something like that. I don't know. I'm just
and some of those venues have a free night. Like our art museum here has like Thursday night free, or the zoo might have Wednesday night free or something like that. So
I love that.
Groupon events are good ways of kind of looking at things to keep it.
That's wonderful. Those are great ideas. Thank you for sharing. And then with that, so thank you for downloading. Again, just a reminder, if you wanted to reach out after the workshop to kind of engage a little bit further, Victoria, be sure to share that link or save that link, and we'll try to connect next year. But again, if you need any help organizing your goals, I'm here and available. But then overall, ladies, I just thank you again for joining me, having this dialogue about the holidays. It sounds like, you know, I'm so appreciative that, you know, I think you're in a similar space where you're like, it's got to be about the experiences. It can't just be about the stuff anymore. And, you know, hopefully we'll all get, you know, really focused, repurposed around those intentions and those experiences. And I think it's going to be a really great holiday season for all of us.
Great. Well, appreciate your time, Kathy. All your effort.
Thank you.
Thank you both for joining. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. This
Happy holidays.
Happy
Merry Christmas.
Happy Thanksgiving. Bye.
Bye now.